great to be here. Thanks for having me, Janelle.
Yeah, so Jill is in town this weekend for the Green Party of Florida annual meeting. She'll also be participating, correct me if I'm wrong, in the March Against Monsanto tomorrow. That starts at 1 at the Hyde Park Playground in Tampa. I want to talk about the issue of genetically modified organisms and, of course, the largest producer of them, which is Monsanto. But first, I'd like to talk about what's happening this weekend with the Green Party of Florida's meeting. We're all pretty familiar with what happens at political conventions for the two major parties, but can you kind of just give us a brief overview of what party leaders will be talking about this weekend?
Well, we'll be talking about the things that everyday people are talking about around their kitchen tables and, walking down the street, talking about, how we are going to get our lives back in order and our jobs and be able to afford higher education, get students out of debt and afford health care and stop the expanding war and legalize marijuana. So, it's all the things that we're moving in the wrong direction on. We're not only not moving forward, we're moving backwards and we're accelerating backwards. So if you have, a problem with any of those things, come on down and, meet people who are getting together to stand up and say that, we don't have to go on like this. We can fix it. So we'll be talking about organizing local chapters, about what we need to do to get candidates on the ballot. We'll be talking about things like fighting Monsanto, fighting the war on drugs, and so on. I will be speaking at, I believe, 10:30, talking about a whole bunch of those things, and then we'll be hearing from a number of local Greens who either have held office, are holding office, and are fighting these battles locally for jobs and healthcare and stop,
WMNF.
the foreclosure crisis and all that. So it's a great chance to network and build power, because the power really is with us ordinary folks on this who are getting, shall we say, sort of swept in the wrong direction by a very small and powerful minority that's holding power right now.
So before I get into some more issues, I want to let our listeners know that we have a local coordinator for the Tampa chapter of the Green Party of Florida. Friedemann Bushbeck is also in the studio. So if anyone has any questions as far as the local party is concerned, perhaps you want to get involved, you're more than welcome to chime in. He can pull up a microphone and answer some questions as well. So Jill, you mentioned how some things are going in the wrong direction as it pertains to the Green Party's platform, and I think no place is better to illustrate that than perhaps Florida. I'm not sure if you're familiar with a lot of what's going on in the state, but the last thing you mentioned was legalizing marijuana. This legislative session, there was a bill passed that actually banned most smoking devices. We had a whole show about it. It was quite comical, but still a serious issue if that's something that you're concerned about. So that's happening here. And of course, the really big thing, failure to expand Medicaid under the federal health care law. Florida turned down the dollars that were available for that. So do you have any thoughts on kind of some stuff that's coming out of the state and what can be done from a Green Party perspective to maybe mitigate some of it?
For sure. First on health care, it's absolutely outrageous. A study came out, I think last week, that half of Americans right now are either uninsured or underinsured. And when you're underinsured, it's like having no insurance because you can't afford it. So you may have that piece of paper, but you can't afford to go and use it. The state I live in, Massachusetts, we already have Obamacare, by the way. We just call it Romney Care, but it's the same thing. And, I'm a medical doctor myself, so I see this from both sides, everyday people who want to be able to have the health care as well as the healthcare profession. And it's a mess, Obamacare in Massachusetts or Romney Care hasn't moved us forward at all. It's a boondoggle. If you are an insurance company or a pharmaceutical company, they are the guys who wrote the bill in Massachusetts, just like nationally. And that's who it serves. So there's a simple solution here, which actually provides health care at half the cost. Looking around the world, most democracies use it. A some system of so-called single payer. Here we would call it Medicare for all. And yeah, I mean, it's absolutely tragic that you know, the things that were good about Obamacare got turned down. That's particularly the Medicaid expansion. That's tragic that it got turned down, the dollars for that. And that's going to be, you know, I mean, that's just a tragedy repeated over and over for millions of people here in Florida and all around the country. It's especially outrageous because we could fix it right now with a Medicare for all system. Instead of cutting Medicare, which is what the president is promoting and has been advocating and proposing in his specific budget, some $400 billion worth of cuts in Medicare and other healthcare programs. Instead of going in that direction, we could actually solve our budget crisis simply by creating a Medicare for all system, covers everybody, and takes the waste out of it, this massive, wasteful insurance bureaucracy. We can get rid of that, actually cover everybody. The bottom line, you know, people say, so what can we do? You know, the bottom line is that we can fix it. We actually have the numbers to fix it. People want this. This is a majority issue. It's all about getting organized, and that's why I tell people, you know, get in touch with the Green Party, because that's how we get to critical mass. If we're divided up, fighting one issue at a time, that's what the powers that be want. They want us to be divided and conquered. And I came to this kicking and screaming. You know, politics was the last thing I wanted to do. I wasn't 50 years old until I joined a political party, so, you know, most of you are way ahead of the game on me here. But after fighting, you know, for health care, fighting for clean air, you know, fighting to stop the obesity and the asthma epidemic, and there's a lot of simple things we can do to fix it, you know, I kind of realized that, you know, it's not going to get fixed until we fix the system. How do we do that? We got to get together and get to critical mass and make it happen. It's definitely, it requires a political solution. People hate politics because it's, you know, it's usually really corrupt and sleazy. But that's traditional politics. Greens are not corrupted by that money. We're just everyday people like you and your friends. And that's why it's a whole different animal. So the things you hate about politics, you will not find going on at the Green Party meeting tomorrow. And if you are interested, if you go to Facebook and you look for Greens Tampa Bay, and is that all one word? Let's see. Or you go to greenpartytampa.org. Yeah, that would be the website to go to. And that is one word, greenpartytampa.org.
Well, Jill, I want to take some calls from some listeners in just a moment. So if you're calling, thanks for being patient. We'll get to you in just a moment. But I do have one more question that came in ahead of time from a listener on Facebook. Before I ask you that, let me give out the number one more time. It's 813-239-9663. I'm going to let Jill answer this question, and then you can answer some questions on the phones.
Sounds great.
Something that I heard from a listener was that it looks like there's good backing for some of the third parties out there, be it Green Party, Libertarian Party. Gary Johnson actually did surprisingly well in the presidential election, as did you, but it's still not getting to that magic number. So what can be done to kind of end the duopoly of Democrats and Republicans?
You know, that is the question of the
$1,000,000
hour.
question.
Yeah. And, you know, if you look at what's happened around the world and through history, people get to the breaking point, you know, and then they stand up, and then suddenly it's an unstoppable force. The question is always, when will that happen? And you don't know, but it's clear we are at the breaking point. You know, if you're looking at students, 36 million college students and recent graduates who are trapped in debt. 1 out of every 2 Americans who are either in poverty or low income, according to the Census Bureau. Jobs are, you know, they say jobs are coming back, but, you know, the jobs that are coming back are the low wage, benefit poor, insecure jobs that are coming back. And the Department of Labor actually says 9 out of 10 jobs expected in the next decade are all these low wage jobs. So there isn't a solution around the corner, and people are more and more saying, we got to change this, and realizing it's nobody but us. So there's this famous saying from Alice Walker, the novelist, poet, that goes, "The biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with." And that really is the name of the game. It's all about recognizing that we do have the power, because most of us are getting pretty badly beat up in one way or another right now, especially young people. And you put us all together, we are an unstoppable force. And you know, I think this problem is only as bad as we allow it to be. So by getting together, by getting involved with alternative politics that is not corporate sponsored, not brought to you by Wall Street, you know, that's how we make this happen. It's only a question of when.
Great. Well, let's hit the phones and some suggestions. 30 minutes is just not enough to tackle everything. So some suggestions that I have, of course, Monsanto, the march is tomorrow. That's a big thing that I'm sure people will want to ask you about. But also the shadow cabinet. I wanted to address that, but maybe I'll let a couple of listeners chime in first. But that might be something to address later on. What's going on with that? What are some ideas coming out of your cabinet? So. Let's go to Esther in Lakeland. Esther, you're on the air with Jill Stein. What would you like to say?
Likewise.
I'd like to ask her, I've heard that doesn't really explain it to me, and I've always kind of wondered about that. Is that an actual requirement, and if so, what does it entail? And how involved is the Green Party? I live in Lakeland, and I'm
Turn the monitor up.
quite ill, and
Turn the monitor up.
I don't really know a lot of what's going on, but I'm wondering how active the Green Party is here in Lakeland, and if to be really successful in changing big issues in the country. I just wonder, you have to, you know, really get involved on a local level and change things on a local level, and I know that's not as sexy, I guess, in national politics. I just put my clear opinion on that.
Great. No. Wonderful. Thank you, Esther. Those are really good questions. You know, there is, everybody's welcome in the Green Party, and it's not like you have to be active locally or active nationally or active at all. You know, everybody participates in their own way, and sometimes it's just by talking to your neighbor, you know, or just, you know, reading a website or an email. And we encourage people, you know, always to get together locally, and because that's where power grows from, obviously. We are not a top-down party, we're a bottom-up, and that kind of strength always starts locally. And I would, you know, but you don't have to do that, obviously. You participate in whatever way you want, and it may just be by signing up for a newsletter on the email, and then passing that newsletter on. You know, it could be contributing what you know about Lakeland and the kinds of problems that you're struggling with there. I myself don't know, you know, where the Green Party is organized in Florida. Because we're a small party right now, we tend not to be everywhere, but we should be. So I'd encourage you to, can you put something in there? Okay, great. So
yeah, my name is Friedemann. I'm here, the local coordinator for the Green Party in Tampa.
We're doing some musical chairs here, so bear with us.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
fine. You're fine, Freeman.
Okay, here I go. Thank you so much for having us on the show. To know more about the Green Party in Florida, we have a very active website. It's gpfl.org, and there you have a link for all the local chapters, what have already coordinators, the phone numbers, the website, email where you can contact them. And of course, we're working very hard on our meeting this weekend to have in every major county in Florida a local chapter or one person from the Green Party that can be contacted.
great, terrific. Thank you very much. And I would, you know, encourage you, Esther, consider coming out for that meeting if you are able. No problem if you're not able. And there will be, I'm sure, reporting back about the meeting, perhaps videos. I don't know if you guys are videoing. any other. Some of it will be videoed. Okay, great. So stay tuned at the website, gpfl.org, to get connected through the meeting, whether you make it there physically or not. It's all about getting connected.
Well, let's take some more calls. The number again to call if you have any questions for Jill Stein, the former Green Party presidential nominee. The number to call is 813-239-9663, or you can email us your thoughts at dj@wmnf.org. I am monitoring that email. Let's go now to Bruce, who is calling from St. Pete. Bruce, you are on the air with Jill Stein. What would you like to say?
Oh yes. Hey Bruce, hi.
Florida, and I'm also a member of the Green Shadow Cabinet. And we are very active in doing things. Of course, we have the St. Pete Greens hosting Jill tomorrow night at the Museum of History in downtown St. Pete. And earlier today, the Green Shadow Cabinet, as you know, Jill, we had a call about the Trans-Pacific Partnership and that new trade agreement that Obama is trying to push through that would continue a downward trend, trade and economics and labor. And so you can go to the Green website, find out a lot about what the cabinet is doing. We have representatives in just about every kind of field you'd imagine. And so I wanted to encourage people to check out the Green Cabinet website. And also, we are very active in Florida. We have new elections coming up, and as I mentioned, I'm part of the coordinating council for the Greens of Florida. And but there is a lot going on locally, so I encourage everyone to check us out. And something, too, that people need to know is that this party is changing. More and more it's becoming lower income and working class people are becoming members of the party, especially during the last campaign of Jill and Sherry. And more people of color and are joining and becoming, Green Party is truly becoming more representative of what America is and will be.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Bruce. Really well said.
Anything to add to that?
You said it so well. I would, definitely encourage people go to the website, greenshadowcabinet.us. And as Bruce said, the people used to think, the Greens, you're just about the trees. Well, we are about the trees and about the ocean and our fish and our livelihoods that come out of that and our health. And we're also very much, increasingly, as Bruce said, we're really about everyday people. As I put it, we are a party for people, peace, and the planet. You can't have any one without the other.
All right, well, I'm going to go to Jonathan, who's calling from Winter Haven. Jonathan, let me give out the number real quick, and then I'll let you ask a question. The number is 813-239-9663, or again, that email address is dj@wmnf.org. Now, Jonathan, do you have a question for our guest today?
I had a question about the GMO protest. Is there going to be an address for St. Pete?
That is a good question. Let me see.
Yes, of course. The St. Pete group has an address, but I have to refer you to our Facebook page, Greens Tampa Bay, and where you get all the links to the chapter in St. Petersburg and Clearwater and so on.
You can actually, even if you don't have a Facebook account, you should still be able to find that, because it's not like a person's private page or anything. You can just do a Google or a good search or a Bing or however it is you find your information on the interwebs. So, Jonathan, can I get you to send an email to that email address? Oh, you don't have the internet. I will get it. Keep listening. I will get. You want the address for the St. Pete group? I'll find it and we'll get that on the air for you as soon as I can find it. Thank you for that call, John. Go ahead.